This is a 9-speed Specialized Allez that was headed for extinction. Bought it recently and everything was wrong with it basically, and most of all it needed a new front wheel, which cost me something like $40 to get that Mavic Ascium, you can see there. But worst, the shifters were completely wrecked. There were no cables on the bike, brake cables or gear cables. The whole bike was just basically junk. So I restored it, and it's riding really well, and it's going to be my bike now for a while. And I'm glad to say that there's a lot of life left in it. But I thought I'd do a video about the situation with the shifters that I encountered, where I changed the triple system into a double. So what we have here is an older Specialized Allez. It's a 27 speed and it's had a bit of a sad life, pretty worn in many places. Frame isn't in great shape, as you can see. There's marks all over it, but generally it's rideable. It's got a triple crankset here and the larger Tiagra rear derailleur. And the biggest issue you can see is the gears. This one, which is a Sora, this one works alright, but the other one which was on it was broken, which I didn't realise when I bought it. So that broken shifter, which works the front derailleur, which is obviously made for a triple, is a big problem because I have to replace it. I mean, I can't ride a bike with just one shifter in this situation with a triple crank. So I'll show you what I've done, or I have, for a replacement. This is the Sora left side shifter, and as you can see it's pretty wrecked on the top here. But the main problem is these don't work at all now. They don't. There's no clicking, there's no shifting possibility in it. So I can't even get the cable out, you see here, because it's not in its first position. So it's pretty much dead and useless. So instead I'm going to replace it with Ultegra double shifters. So here are the Ultegra 9-speed shifters. They're missing their little covers here, but it's no big deal. The rubber's in pretty good shape. They seem to work nicely. They've got the ratchet sound, the clicks, ready for use. And the question is, I mean, this is a better quality model than the Sora, but the thing is, these are only doubles, and the question I have to ask is, can you have a mixed type of setup? You've got a double shifting system with the triple crank and a triple rear derailleur. So will the bike be rideable with this type of mixed setup or not? And that's what I'm going to find out. So I'm going to run through this 9-speed cassette with this shifter, which works pretty well, no real hesitation. Okay, now I've got the Ultegra. I'm going to change it because the state of this head and the broken rubber, I think it'd be better just to change them completely. So here are the old Sora triple front shifters and rear derailleur shifters. This one still with its cable in because it's stuck in that same position because it's broken. Okay, so that's on, and now I'm going to cable it up. And here are the new Ultegra 9-speed double shifters. I've put new cables in, brake cables and gear cables. I lubricated the housing so to give it the best chance possible. They're missing their plates, but it's no big deal, not bothered about that. I took out the granny ring of the crank, so the third smallest ring is gone to save some weight and just to get rid of it because it's redundant now. And rear derailleur is just exactly the same chain, just with new cables. So let's see how this front shifter does now on the two rings of this triple crank. It's the first shift. Let's adjust it on the middle chain ring, and then second it comes off. So by adjusting this screw, which is for the outer ring, and by screwing it in more, I've stopped it from the chain from slipping off, coming out too far and falling off. So I moved the front derailleur down about 2 or 3 centimeters, so it sits more like a traditional double front derailleur. So here's the setup. You can see it's closer to like a traditional double derailleur, where it's only a couple of millimeters from the edges of the teeth of the main ring. So I wasn't really worried about the cassette at the back with the 9-speed setup because, you know, the Ultegra shifters are 9-speed, and I knew they would probably just fit in exactly the same spacing pattern as the original shifters, which were a Sora. However, I thought this could be the big problem with the front derailleur. It's got an extended inner plate because it's a triple, and so I took off the third ring, the granny ring, just to save weight and just to get rid of it. And so this extended plate, which is for that, to grab the chain and bring it into the second, I don't have any use for it. It's completely redundant now. However, on seeing that, I decided to bring the derailleur down to about 1 millimeter, to its like traditional second derailleur for like double derailleur, about 1 millimeter away from the outer ring. And when I did that, this lip on the inside was constantly hitting the chain. So I took it back to its normal level for a triple in its original setup. And now you can see on This is the third gear. It's pretty clean. And it's not hitting that lip. And there's enough space on the in between the plates for the chain to go across without any chain rub. That's the extreme. So that works. I mean, it's clean. There's no issues with it. And if I move it up, I've got enough of the shifting adjustment to work through all the gears. Put it back down. So I'm pretty pleased with it. It works just as well as a normal standard front derailleur for two shifting. But with the triple, I thought it could be a problem, but no, it's actually worked the same. All I've done is taken out the third ring and just set it up so that it never has to travel back further than it should. There's no triple ring to go down to. And as far as the rear derailleur, that works exactly the same. So I think there's enough play on the double shifters so that you can do this. You can change your triples to a double and work around the front derailleur, and it shouldn't be a problem. So the conclusion with this bike is that if you want to change your system from a triple transmission to a double, then you can change everything, and it's going to be more money. You change your shifters, you're going to change the front derailleur, which is a different one to the double. You could change your crank and rear derailleur, which is longer, and the chain will have to be changed as well. Or you can do it the way I did it. You can just change your shifters, keep the front derailleur, take the granny ring off, maybe the crank, keep the rear derailleur and the chain, and your only real problem is the front derailleur, where you just have to trim it so that it doesn't fall off. It doesn't make the chain fall off either way, and that's the main problem. Everything else should work all right. This bike now rides really well. There's no noise coming from the front derailleur, but it does take more refining to get it right, but it does work.